Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Unmasking Motherhood podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm especially excited because, one, it's the first time that I have two guests on, and I can't wait for you to get to know Michelle and Molly more. And also, we have a really juicy topic that we're going to dive into towards the end of the podcast. So, we're mixing up the flow. You're going to get to hear a bit of their motherhood stories, but we'll also dive deeper into just a core essential element of their teaching and their belief system for the world that I cannot wait for you to hear. And we've never discussed on the podcast before. I want to share briefly that I came across Michelle and Molly from their podcast, The Village Sessions. If you are not familiar, go look them up. They're incredible. I actually watch on Spotify. You have the video option, which is kind of fun. And they're incredible. And it came at a time where I was going through a major life transition, moving our family of four from Vegas back to our hometown. And, in the midst of transition, it can feel unsettling. There's just stuff going on. And I knew I was in need of a change and a little bit of mentorship in my mothering journey. And I knew that I must go first. And so when I heard their podcast, I don't even know what episode, I was like, this is exactly what I need right now. And I instantly invested in rooted families, like the immersion. I'm like, I'm all in. This is what I need. And so was introduced to Bowspring through that. And yeah, they're incredible. And they have their own offerings that we will talk about and you'll get to hear about towards the end or throughout. That will come up. And so thank you so much for being here, both of you. They are actually in Hawaii and totally different time zones. I love being able to connect with women all around the country.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
My pleasure. It's going to be fun. Okay, so let's dive in. So I want both of you first just to take a minute and tell us a little bit about your backstory, whatever you feel led that brought you here to this moment. And it can be related to anything from where you're from to educational background, how, family related, wherever you feel led, wherever you want to let this take you.
Cool.
Yeah. Where does Michelle want to take off? Where does the rocket going to take off?
I know. How do you even start?
I don't even know.
She's like, I have
at this point
so many years to talk about.
So many, and just also, how do you
sum it up?
Yeah. Just the nugget. I don't even know. I think there was no one catalyst, right? Everything works together perfectly, even though it looks like destruction and even for myself, death, right? Like near-death experiences, really difficult, miscarriages and things like that, and literally hung in the balance between worlds. And I'm like, what is this life anyway? And then I, as I got older and learned more about myself and my design and my purpose on the planet, and also gained a deeper reverence, respect, and realization for the potent power of the creativity of the woman. I think when I look back now at everything that I experienced and everything that happened, all I have is gratitude. I'm just at, oh, it's so perfect. Even the imperfectly perfect journey of it all is what I come up with. So I don't necessarily look at events I have so many pivotal moments in my life. There wasn't just one. It's just this massive orchestration of perfection. Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of your background prior to connecting, and I go, oh, wow, had no idea that you had vowed to, maybe we'll dive into that later, but like a life of solidarity, not wanting to maybe have kids.
Yeah.
Right?
15.
That's not the interactions I've had with you. So I was like, oh, wait, there's a story there.
Yeah.
Near-death experiences.
Yeah.
So,
and at 15, we can dive into this later, but at 15, I pretty much decided I didn't ever want to be married and I didn't want children. I was on track to go to medical school. I was going to be independently wealthy and live alone. And no. And so,
Not what happened.
No, that's not exactly how. And so, I can remember this calling. It was a call. I was in nursing school, and there was this absolute calling of, I could do that. and I can do that really well. And yet there was this, like I said, the creative force in me that's like, no, actually be married and da 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 da. And it wasn't long after that I met and married my husband. And then 4 years later, we started having children and basically didn't stop until 8 later. And, you know, the last one was a very significant near-death experience. And then once I understood like more about my design and my map of the world, I was like, oh, I have this massive, massive birth potential in me. And no wonder birth felt so easy and so natural and so in sync with who I am as a human. I think some of us are just naturally inclined that way to birth. Now, was I a great mother? Okay, well, that's up for debate. And
Your kids would say so.
I don't. Some of them would. Some of them would be like,
their
"No,
character
we want a
shows."
different one. We're going to
We
do
do,
the. We
we
want
do.
an exchange, right?" But at the same time, I just recognizing that deep it's an imprint for it, you know, for birth. I loved being pregnant. I loved having children. I breastfed all of my kids. I was that homesteader mom before homesteading was cool. And yet, thank God, you know, that I absolutely went toward that moment and fulfilled, if you want to call it a soul contract or whatever, to marry this one man and have these amazing humans. And when that time was over, we parted. And, you know, and the longevity thing was hard for me to deal with, but at the same time, I knew it was correct for me, you know. But yeah, I learned through that process to have an experience with and to honor that deep actual need, biological need to create and produce, and even after my childbearing years were over, to continue that in other ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you still are, hence being here
I still
today
am.
and all that you're.
I know
Life
she
can-
laughs.
She laughs because
She laughs.
anybody that knows Michelle is like, oh, another project, another thing, another business,
Yep.
another offering. It's like endless. It's
What
an
is this,
endless
like
flow.
6 registered trademarks now?
Yeah.
And several.
All in.
Yeah, I'm serious. And so all these things, these frameworks, I'm like the framework master and just
Yeah.
producing. And I'm like, you know what, if this is how I can bring my creativity to the world and help and nurture and bless other women and mothers and families, then I am giving it all back.
And it's coming back to you.
And it's coming back to me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
In beautiful ways. Yeah.
Yes. I just, obviously, you know, becoming a mom, I have 2 children. You just are more aware of the life cycle, of course, in Mother Earth and in nature, in the moons, but also within our body. But then also everything you do is an act of creation. You know, when you bring something to fruition, whether it's a business idea or a musical composition, we're always birthing and gestating, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And why stop at children? And like, once you really tap into that creative force, I mean, it's powerful and so like electrifying. You're like, maybe it's the generator in us. I don't know, but
It could be.
more of it, please.
Generator's sacral speaking right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not everybody's
thanks,
going to do it
Michelle.
the same way.
The other energy types are like, what?
What?
What are you
Yeah.
guys talking
Not
about?
everybody's going to do it the same way, you know, so it's okay.
Yeah. That's true. That's not you.
Yeah, it's not you. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Michelle. I loved hearing more. And Molly, give us a little background of just even what you're all about. Whatever you feel led. Anything goes.
Yeah. So by trade, I'm a chiropractor, birth worker. And so my entry sort of into motherhood was understanding the biologic and the physiologic imprint of women becoming mothers. So I saw that a lot in my practice, and I would see that attending births, and I did like apprenticeship model, midwifery care and training. And so that was my entry into motherhood, besides obviously experiencing my own mother growing up. And when I met my husband, I quickly knew that, you know, I wanted to have kids. I want to populate the earth. I always say that. I'm like, we populating the earth, babe. Like, let's get ready.
These 2 here together. I'm sorry, we're doing our job.
Yeah,
We're on our job.
Oh
you know?
So we
That
had
is amazing.
our first son, and Well, we had the journey to having our first son. I think a lot of my mapping and the purpose why I'm here has to do with understanding emotional literacy, understanding relationships, mastering emotional calibration within myself and within the relationships that I have. And so the very first place that I went, I was like, I'm not going to do the prenatal. I'm not going to do the ultrasound. I'm not going to do the things. I'm not going to have the prenatal appointments. I'm going to dive deep with my husband here because I know this is the way in. This is my entry into uncovering, birthing, creating. This is how I'm going to do it. This is my way. Once we became pregnant, we knew this was kind of the track that we were going to go down was, looking at each other, coming closer together, becoming this dynamic union, this space really for a soul to come through. And that was our deepest work in pregnancy. And so as we got closer to the portal, we were moving in there. I always say I didn't make a ton of decisions, and Michelle laughs at that, but we really just waited and allowed spaciousness and allowed things to kind of fall into place and things to come in. And one of the things that came in was the village birth and this concept of seeing the helpers around us and really allowing ourselves to, in the moment, call upon and utilize resources that were near and dear to us, and allow our baby to kind of co-create the process of coming through and their story, right? Our son's first story. So Michelle always says, Sam, he kind of threw the flare, he shot it, and we were about 22 or something, 20 or 18 hours in birth or something like that. And we were chilling, and then we weren't for, it's like we're cruising, I'm sleeping, and then the sun comes up, and I'm like, no, what? I'm supposed to have my baby already. How is the sun coming up? And so he sent the flare to Michelle and then our friend Corey and another friend on island. And we had this really transformational experience, being held by women and my friends and people that knew me, people that were clean mirrors for me, and that could see what I needed, see the resourcing that I was asking for, and hold the space for me to step into my becoming. And so we had a really transformational experience there with the village birth, and it's changed a lot in me. And I think it's imprinted my mothering wholeheartedly and how I choose to go about things, how I choose to resource our family. And so very much in line with my design as well. And out of that experience, out of that birthing experience with our first son, the village birth was initiated. So that's another offering that we have, Michelle and I have with Corey. And then a lot of the aspects of what we bring into the Vessel Village, our joint business here, be birthed from Kua's birth.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my story into motherhood. Yeah.
Incredible. I didn't
Yeah.
know you had
All the
midwifery background because I saw, when we chatted beforehand that you had 10 years of attending births, and I was like, wow, okay, how cool. Was that just a personal interest or something that informed your chiropractic work? Or
definitely informed
that-
the way, really honestly, the way that I see the world. I always tell people, I'm like, I'm seeing this all through a birthing lens. I'm seeing this all through the creative lens, and what is self-sustaining and what is self-perpetuating in the intelligence that we have within us. And I had a mentor in chiropractic school who saw the world that way, and she would always give us metaphors. She would be talking about something chiropractic related, anything relationship related, and she would talk about birth and the power that women have to hold and hold the tension, to create, to perpetuate life, and the opportunity that it is to do that. And so with her, I started working with a doula association, and this is back in Dallas. And then I started working with a midwifery clinic there and attending births while I was in chiropractic school. And so from there, it kind of just flowed into, what I wanted to do and how I wanted to hold people and women and their transformation as well.
And mine was completely opposite. I mean, I went to nursing school. I was trained in a tertiary care center. And, I just came out going, yeah, absolutely not.
Ain't doing
that. I
that.
ain't doing that. No. And then, I think I've said this before, I read husband coach childbirth and had kids by myself. It's like, absolutely not doing that. Because my brain is wired up like, this is natural. I've got this. I can do this. It's all good. And, and so I didn't have like, I don't compare. I follow my own path, and I don't really look around to take a poll, get someone's opinion. I don't really care. It's like, I'm gonna do my own thing, and that's what I did, And so, yeah, so almost completely opposite, experiences. Yeah.
Stepping into
But
it.
the moment I keep playing over in my mind lately was this pivotal moment in Molly's birth when Sam called Corey and I, and we show up with coffee, basically.
Well, so background context. One of our ideas, and this is funny because we were planting the seed for a village birth from the very beginning. We didn't even know it, but he was like, "What would you really like in labor?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think to just like hang out with people and do life like normal until it gets to a point where I'm not able to breathe or whatever we say, early on before we've had a child." Yeah. And he was like, "Oh yeah, so I'll just call some friends and we'll bring over some coffee." And I was like, "Probably not." Yeah, okay.
But that was Sam's frame.
I think he literally said, "Do you want to bring coffee?"
Yeah, he did.
Like, I'm not drinking coffee while I'm transitioning, but it's good.
Yeah.
And I walk in and I'm keeping track of how long it's been, and I know Molly. I've mentored her on 2 different occasions in 2 different containers, and I know this woman, right? And she's kind of hanging across the end of the bed, and I kind of slip around the corner, and I'm going in, and just like I usually do, I'm like, "Hey, so what we doing here?" And I'm just kind of stroking her hair and be like, "What's happening?" And trying to take a pulse, the nurse. I'm like, "Okay, let me just kind of assess, like what's the mindset like? What's the body like? What's going on here?" And you were tired.
I was tired. I was tired. I was I got into my emotional space.
You did.
Right then too.
Yeah.
So a lot of water works, when she came in, and I was like, "Oh, okay. That's what I needed. I needed you to touch me.
Yes.
I needed you to just see me. I
Also,
needed you to say, what do you need?"
And also just the physicalness of the another body, another heart, another energetic battery, there saying, "Here, use it. We can do this. Come on." And then but letting her call the shots, right? And also being intuitive about the space and what I know that she wants, and offering, giving her something to respond to, and all of those things, and just checking on Sam, and they're still autonomous, in their space and doing their thing, and then always asking for consent and permission, and waiting for her to respond. So that's that was a pivotal moment
for us in our village creation. Obviously my experience, coming through into motherhood.
Yeah, totally.
Well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was really good.
It kind of breaks my heart in a way that not that every woman is meant to birth at home,
Right, of course.
The
totally,
lack
yeah.
of the consent, the lack of nurturing that women receive, that just the fear-based narrative that quite frankly made me never want to become a mother around parenting, childbirth, all of it. And I definitely related to your shift, or at least if you were speaking about it this way, my first child I chose to have with a birthing center, but with midwifery care. And I didn't have anyone around me, but I knew I wanted a doula. My nurse husband was like, "No, we got this, babe." Didn't want my parents in there, anything like that. But I really felt like I had a missed opportunity because I wanted that woman in my ear, that maternal, mama voice that's like, "You can do this." And then my second baby, when I had a home birth, I was like, "I'm getting my doula." And I ended up having like a birth team, a midwife and an assistant. But speaking of the sparks, I don't know if this was like, I just feel like there's sometimes a connection between you and people you call into your birth team too. And I'd never had a doula, but I just want to share this because I've never shared on the podcast. Whenever my second baby, I was in labor in the tub, and I was like, I don't want to call my doula here if I'm not actually in labor. Because I did that once. She spent the night and she left. And I felt so bad. She's like, "That's my job. It's okay." But I was in the tub and I was like, okay, it's not going away. I think this is go time. 2:30 in the morning, went to pick up my phone, called my doula. She's like, I just woke up. I was waiting for you. Like she was like, I know it was gonna happen. And she lived 45 minutes away and I have quicker labors. So I was like, this is really happening. But you know that like connection we have
Psychic
as women, that psychic connection with people. And that just gave me chills. And I was like, this is really it, isn't it, Melissa? So but how beautiful to have your crew around you. Like that's how it's meant to be. If you want that, I guess, hibernate,
totally. I see that. And I see the revival of the village too. And that's part of, what we're here to do and what we're here to perpetuate is to help women know who they are, help women become resourced enough to ask cleanly for the things that they need, and to be surrounded by humans. We're going so far from being in community and being in relationship with other people and physical, right? There's like a field that generates when two people have connected and have memories over a series of time, even if time's not time's an illusion, but it's that being held and being supported and asking cleanly and being we call it a vessel, being a clean vessel for the people around you so that you guys can reflect each other clearly.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I enjoy most about working with women is the getting into I call them the seeds of desire in your heart, which is most women are completely unfamiliar with. So they don't even really know that it's possible to ask for such, certain things. And when you begin to help women like unearth that or take off the layers or the armoring or the scars or the programming or whatever it is that's got that covered up, and then you actually really get down into the seeds of desire in the heart, what grows is even surprises them. It's like, oh, I had no idea this was actually something that I wanted or something that this was possible, right? So it's the I'm possible from the impossible or the unknown. It's the known from the unknown, and how that bursts into the world is even through the experiential realm. So also part of my design is the embodiment piece of humanity. And so consciousness embodied and how the consciousness moves through the world and creates the human experience, right? So all of this is really just a big reflection of what you're here to recreate on your own conscious experience level, right?
And birth being a massive magnifier
Huge.
of that.
Huge. What a revealer.
It's such a revealer.
Yeah.
You always say too, it's like, when you can tell a lot about a person, this is Michelle saying, you can tell a lot about a person when they get what they want and when they don't get what they want. But then you map birth to them and you're like, ooh, D. Like, what did you really want?
Yeah.
Now what do you want?
You obviously have a preference based on your response.
Exactly.
So what's that about?
Let's talk about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I cringe because it's true. It's like, you can really
it's so true.
tell a lot about ourselves and other people through that lens. Okay, this is so great. Before we dive even more into your motherhood backgrounds, I want to ask you a couple just fun questions, rapid fire for both of you. Okay, Michelle, go first. What's one word that describes your motherhood journey today? I know you're in a different place than Molly, so what's one word that describes your motherhood journey?
My motherhood journey today, all I can think of is creation.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
Feels fitting. Molly, what about you?
The first phrase that came to me was self-mastery.
Lovely. Okay, totally different change of pace for this one. What's the last thing that made you belly laugh, Michelle? It's the last thing. Aside from this chick next to you.
No, because
What is it? Is it a
because
show?
it's so revealing, the things that made me laugh. I'm just I have this rotten, absolutely sick sense of humor. This morning, I belly laughed. I belly laughed this morning because Molly messaged that she was going to bring a steak and be here at 9:30. And I said, great, I'm naked in the floor in my kitchen. And, and I'm like, oh, what if the world knew that?
Yeah.
You know, and
What-
apparently it's going to now.
Everybody knows.
Now the world knows
You've
that.
been revealing more about yourself lately.
I love it.
I don't know that I really do like that, but whatever, you know. And I'm like, oh, if I screenshotted this, you know, and put it out there, you know, like.
And it was like, do you want a rib or wait, do you want
Do
a
a
T-bone or a
rib?
fillet? And I'm gonna bring a T-bone or a fillet. And then she's like, great. I'm naked on
This
the
is
floor.
your
And I'm like,
casual.
of our lives. What
Amazing.
kind of red meat do you want?
And that made me
You
laugh.
guys are like
I'm oh,
family.
this is a classic conversation here. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm just naked in the kitchen floor.
That's
Anyway,
I was gonna say you guys are like family, but I don't even know that I talk to my family.
see, that's the problem.
Chosen family.
It's like,
That's amazing.
What-
Okay, Molly.
you know, like-
what? Okay,
like nobody really wants to know these things, but here I am going,
I
I'm just
appreciated it.
Anyway, okay,
Just-
that made me laugh. But anyway,
the transparency. Like we all need a few like relationships like that, though, just to be, really, really freaking honest. So
yeah.
I love it, Molly. What comes to mind for you?
The last thing I can recall that I was just dying at was 2 nights ago, my husband has been playing these like Filipino like DJ
stuff.
jams,
Yeah,
but
he
it's
sent me
all,
that.
he sent it like it's all like older music that we would
It's
have
my
listened to.
era, okay?
Well, it's music that I would have listened to in maybe college, like maybe freshman or sophomore year in college, and we've been our son has been falling asleep on Sam's shoulder as we're like both dancing at night. And so I'm over here like just like really moving my body, and sometimes he'll get down and like kind of move his body, like twerk a little bit with his booty, and we're
Belly
dying
laugh about
laughing.
it.
We're dying laughing
Oh
at
my
his
God.
invitation and
Oh
him
my
falling
gosh.
shoulder to a stripper song, and we're like, all right,
There we
yeah,
go. It's on now.
we're
It's cool.
doing it.
It's what we do.
Love parenting.
New
Core
level
mem-
of parenting.
core memories.
Core
for
memories.
sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing. For those of you listening, we will link the playlist in the show notes in
Oh.
case you want to.
Oh.
Okay, I really will, because
No, it's actually really
some,
good.
some women, you just need to let loose, you know, just a little
Yes.
giggle, just a little fun time before bed.
Some
Yeah, it feels
women-
so good.
I think we all do. Yes, absolutely. Okay, are you ready for the last question?
World would be a better place if
Okay.
we did. Yeah.
We ready?
Yes, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Okay.
So this one's very random too. What is your favorite beverage these days? Anything from like coffee, cocktails, something you pick up at Trader Joe's? What are you just loving?
My lattes.
Yes.
Okay. So
they're so good.
I've been, and I'm not sponsored by this product. I have been
Should be.
right. I have been thoroughly enjoying flavored Death Wish coffee lately, which my son absolutely had a lot to say about.
What do you say?
He was like, "You're drinking Death Wish? Do you know that
I
has
don't know.
enough caffeine to blah 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 blah?" And I'm like, "I think it's fantastic."
I don't know
you
anything about it.
Anyway, it's like it used to keep like military guards awake at night. I'm like,
Oh.
not
Oh,
me.
geez. That's intense.
Anyway,
Hence the
flavored
name.
Death Wish coffee, and then I take heavy cream and put an egg in it, and use my little zipper frother thing and foam it up really
Yes.
big, and then pour the hot coffee in. Put a little stevia in it. So I play barista
Wow.
when these guys are over, and that's like my morning hug in a cup, and that's been my whole thing lately.
That's been one of my favorite drinks that I've come across recently. So
There we go.
there it is. There it is.
Who knew
So
I had a
you-
coffee shop?
2 for
I'm like-
1.
I'm coming up to her house for lattes.
You really like
Bartender Michelle.
You actually
Oh,
really like it's the
It
cup.
is the cup. It's the ceramics.
Yeah.
We're having this woman
Yeah.
who made this cup. She's going to do some products for the vessel here at the end of the summer.
No, but if
And
you put that in a paper cup, it wouldn't have the same
So true.
feeling. It's
Yeah.
the cup.
it's the cup. The cup is so solid and sturdy.
It's
It's a
so
ceramic cup,
nice.
and it has a lid.
Yeah.
It is
It's tight.
16 ounce. Like, ooh.
Ooh,
Chef's
yeah,
kiss.
Yeah.
it's a great one.
All about textures. If anybody doesn't understand.
It's the experience,
experience. It
right?
really
It's the coffee plus
Yes.
the cup. And, ooh, yeah.
That's
Anyway,
a good match.
It's a whole
Yeah, it's great. It's a whole vibe.
Yes, absolutely. It's a whole vibe. But the container that you drink out of, the vessel that you drink out of makes a
Yes.
difference. It's part of the
That's what we're talking
Part of the
about.
experience.
That's what we're talking about.
you get it. Yes. Okay. I love it. I like to, just part of my personality in this podcast is like we keep it light, and then we go deep. And so let's go a little bit deeper into your mothering journeys. Molly, I want to start with you and take the time you need to answer anything goes for this as well. So if we really knew you, what would we know about your motherhood journey?
Ooh. The first thing that comes to mind is somehow the word is like naturalness, or this effortlessness in the action of mothering. That's something that I've been reflected back quite a bit my son is just about to turn 2. So in the short time that I have been a mother, and I do see a lot of that in, the work that I did leading up to his birth, obviously, and the places that I placed myself and like witnessing other mothers have that transition, and then getting really clear on my value system and who I wanted to be as a mother. And then envisioning that for a lot of years. My husband and I he was 35 and I was 30 when we had him. So really we're like later on in relationship to biologically or like evolutionarily when women would have children. And so we had a lot of life before that. And so I would say there's a naturalness, there is an ease for the most part in our mothering, and we just really, we really keep things fun with him, and we keep things really natural. And if you know anything about my son, he's very rarely clothed, and I will try to put clothes on him, and he takes them off immediately. Anytime he's outside, he uses Hawaiian words, but he's like, himo, like take everything off of me. And I'm like, cool. You don't want to wear a shirt right now? There's like, we're at a birthday party. He's like, take my shorts off. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
How far do you let him go with that? At what age are you like, okay?
Well, and then that's the question too, is because at the beach, so we've just started surfing lessons with him, and the surf instructor is in awe of his naturalness in the water, number one, and number two, he was like, I've never seen a child be more comfortable in his body and be more comfortable being naked. And I was like, this is his naturalness is just a word, I think, in our dynamic, him and I's dynamic, and the way that I've showed up for him and the way that I've intentionally showed up for him. And so he is so comfortable in his body, and it's so sweet to see. And I do have questions about that. I'm like, which age are we gonna be like? And I'm just gonna let him choose, and so he'll show me when he's ready to keep his swim shorts on, and we'll do that when the time comes. And until then, everybody look away, because this is how he is,
So sweet. My almost 3-year-old is the same way, and I'm like, oh, whenever like at play dates at a friend's house, but they have like older siblings and she's running around naked, I'm like, I love the naked body though. I'm like, this is gonna stop one day, and I just love your little booty. They're so sweet.
I agree.
Yeah.
Does that question feel complete? I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
no, I love it. Yeah, that feels naturalness feels like the word.
Yeah, you just like nurtured that from the start. And just complete side note from what you've shared so far, I just personally find it so fascinating, the pre-work that women can do prior. And I think there's such a need for that. This has just come up through things you've shared. And I went from like not expecting to be pregnant to like, okay, 9 months, 10 months, here we go. And so I took those first 10 months to like read. I mean, you can do as much as you can in that short time, but try to heal wounds. And I just wanted to name, because it just keeps coming up in my heart, of like how deep of a need there is. If there's a woman watching that is interested in becoming a mom, or fearful, or maybe pregnant with another, you can never underestimate the pre-work you can do in preparing your heart, mind, spirit.
Totally. And
life-changing rite of passage.
We become mothers in all kinds of ways, right? So we really deeply desired the connection my husband and I had. We really deeply desired to bring humans in on this earthly plane. And other women have like the accident, or they have the oops, or they have the like traumatic event. And none of that is wrong. I think that's completely part of your soul purpose here on earth.
Yeah.
And my biggest encouragement would be to unlearn a lot of what you've learned from society about what it means to be a mother
Mhm.
and
Yep.
get in tune with who you are so that you can be who you need to be for the child that's coming through. And it's just not,
Preach.
yeah, it's just not something that is talked about a lot. It's like there's not this individuation, and you've talked about this with me a lot, but there's this individuation that happens with children, with the mothers that are really in tune. They know that child in and out. They may not have language for it, but they know who they are, what their soul's purpose is early on in life. And that was woven into the fabric of so many ancient traditions and different indigenous cultures. They would have the ability to name for a mother, name for a family who this child was and what they were here to do.
Mhm.
And it allowed you to rest in motherhood because you're like, oh yeah. This child has a purpose. I am its facilitator from 0 to 7, right? And then after that, they have their own experience in the world. And that Rudolf Steiner calls it it's something about leaving the forest, or I can't remember his exact phrase with that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're finally stepping out after that age. And from that first time, you're facilitating their experience of their soul's purpose, right? And so, yeah, who do you need to become as a woman in this 10-month, in this 9-month journey to let that go, let that happen, let that be your story and your baby's story. So that would be my encouragement for women.
Yes. It's so good. And then take that time, and even throughout motherhood, it's just going to bring up all your shit. At least it has for me. And to get as much of that out of the way so I can just really guide my child without my own agenda, So that's been, it's work. But I'm so inspired, and I wanted to just name what I've seen and heard from what you've shared so far, and very encouraged by your background. And I just see how intentional you've been. So yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing more there. You're welcome. Okay, Michelle, now the table passes over to you. The table turns to you. So if we really knew you, what would we know about your motherhood journey?
My motherhood journey. It was, it started off kind of a hot mess in a sense. Like there was a lot of unearthing and uncovering, and a lot of it had to do with embodiment as a mother. So I had all of this information and knowledge and all of this education and all of this other stuff, and yet to be a truly embodied mother, it took a minute, and so there was a lot of, here's if I had a word for the years, I would say maturation. And so not just the archetypal journey, from maiden to mother, but the maturation of woman from information to information. So being formed from the heart, becoming that mother. And that didn't happen until much later in my childbearing years. So I was very consumed with the day-to-day operations of home and all that was in my life. And some people would call it on my plate. And just trying to keep I used to call it all the plates spinning, right? To keep everything moving and going. And so I didn't really get to this place of feeling my age as a mother until my children were actually older. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I try to offer mothers now, or women in general, is the ladder or the framework to do this maturation work, so that the actual having of the children and the running of the home doesn't have to do that work for them. In other words, they have a place to take that path, because in our culture, that's not taught. It's not actually prepared for. And in other cultures, a woman would have been prepared to be a mother. She would have been taught certain things, and she would have had people there to help do certain things. And it wouldn't necessarily have been all on her to get it done, right? And so I feel like
Yeah.
the mothering piece, having to mature the woman, is actually not the job and space for that,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of women are being so deeply shaped by their mothering journey within the home and with the children
Yep.
that there needs to be that's why we created the
That's
vessel,
why we created the vessel.
was
Yeah,
because it's like, okay, let's not make that do this maturing work, right? Let's create another way for you to see yourself as autonomous, as mature, as adult, as creative, as all of these things that you naturally are, without making the home experience and the mothering experience do that for you. And rooted families is that too, because, and the whole reason I created that is because I saw so many people getting lost, with the diagnosis and all of this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on. There's actually something else here that you can grow that's going to help you. And then you can look at that and choose over here. And so that's what I wish I would have had in my mothering journey. So I created the thing I needed then, right? Also, as somebody who was incredibly autonomous and independent and very opinionated and strong-minded, right? So I spent a lot of my time in isolation, even as a mother, living in the country, and didn't really have spaces and places to sort these things out, right? So I would say, the maturation journey defined a lot of my mothering years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I almost like, I've been in your orbit through Rooted Families, listening to you and Corey since January. And I like just feel that from you, like that part of your mission is to evoke this wisdom and like help us have a different experience within motherhood and learn. And it almost feels like a more, instead of reacting to motherhood, what's the other word you'd say? Like to be responsive within yourself, that your family then responds from there. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Or it to be your effort mothering to be an overflow, and there's no effort. It's just this overflow.
Yes.
It's this experience that you create because you're creative. It's this experience you create because you're mature. It's this experience you have because you are in love with your husband, or whatever the overflow of the action of mothering.
Yeah. I would
So much
hope
more
that
useful.
I would hope that my generation, I was born in the mid 60s. I would hope that my generation is the final generation of this type of, motherhood becomes the school for maturation kind of thing. And there's this kind of, I can't even think of the word.
Like a move from nuclear family into something more like rooted and stable,
right?
Understanding the laws of nature and the resourcing, and you understand the way that energetics play out.
It's the contextualized woman is what it is. And so I think sometimes, a lot of times, motherhood decontextualizes woman and sucks her into this contrived world that's been created from like my childhood forward. You do this with your children, do this to your children, and that whole pull away now is like, wait a minute, what program are we running right now, and what does this even mean? So being able to contextualize woman as the feminine within her power and her autonomy, and then she mothers from this place of self-identity, is very different than trying to keep peace and rapport with your family and do things in a way that doesn't upset everybody, and how the church tells you to do it and medicine tells you to do that, and da 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 da. And women who understand that they are not those systems and programs that make choices. That's a whole different realm, right? And so I felt like I was in the thick of that when I was mothering, right? Because, chose not to vaccinate, chose not to do this. And I was called a child abuser because I wanted to birth naturally at home,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that kind of stigma that goes with just when you're on a, you're kind of the way show, or the leader, the outlier, the crackhead who's 6 steps ahead, it's like you right. It's like you're out there just like blazing the trail, right? For women to follow behind and say, you actually don't have to do that.
Yeah.
That's actually a program. You don't have to buy that. And it takes a ton of self-awareness to be able to fight the battle, blaze the trail, and then grow yourself up at the same time. It's like,
Yeah.
you come out looking a little haggard and a little bit wild. It's a little wild looking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
No wonder it felt lonely and just intense. Yeah. Plus 5+ children. I mean, goodness. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I
Yep.
in this day and age, we're so, because of social media or podcast, books, all the exposures, it's so beautiful, but it almost feels overwhelming, all the voices coming at you.
Oh yeah.
And because
Mhm.
I told you motherhood was not part of my plan, I feel like I had 10 months, and then the first year just rocks your world in general. And so I was like healing, and this will flow into our next conversation, like trying to heal my mother wound, trying to like deconstruct my faith. We were moving cross country 2 times. Just, I don't recommend it. And also trying to like I wasn't ready for the responsibility of motherhood. That's why I didn't, choose it actively. And so I was scared out of my mind, but saw the calling, saw the sacredness, and was like, I've got to do some work hardcore. But it was so intense those first couple years. And I had so many pressures and outside influences. I was not like you, Michelle, in that sense of like just knowing that it led to a complete mental collapse. And so, I'm slowly rebuilding. That was 5 years ago. And now my
Wow.
work in the world isn't supporting mothers, but I'm just like, instead of trying to figure it out within motherhood, knowing who you are and having that as a way that informs your motherhood feels just so much more supportive for the family unit. And I'm grateful for this conversation and the work you're doing, because it's a totally different paradigm. It's a paradigm shift than what we're hearing, so thank you.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears, because I know one of the things that both of you speak on is healing the matrilineal line. Am I saying that right? Matrilineal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes I pronounce words wrong, so like, please tell me. Through self-responsibility and ancestral healing, etc. So I would love for the woman listening who is so unfamiliar with like, what does she mean? Matrilineal healing, ancestral healing. Can you just break down what this is and why it matters? Whoever
Go
wants
ahead.
to.
Well, some of the feedback that we actually have received in our time just being exposed to online community and working with women is the question of, where is the matriarch? I don't have the matriarch. I can't find her. I don't know what a true matriarch is. These are all reflections that we have received throughout the last 2 years or so. And especially in the time post the village birth is kind of what we called it, my son's birth. It was a really big pillar moment for us. It was a really transformational moment for me and my family and my mothering journey, like I'd mentioned before. And it highlighted the need for that matriarchal presence within the village. So Michelle's work, your work, is really in the maturation process of women maturing into, and something that we've developed throughout the vessel community online is that the matriarch you're looking for is you. You are becoming the matriarch you're looking for. And so what does that mean? What does that mean for self-responsibility? What does that mean for your maturation process? What does that mean for knowing yourself? What does that mean for resourcing yourself and your family? Do you want to go dive deeper into that?
Yeah. And so what I tell people when they ask, where's the wise woman? Where's the matriarch? Where are the women who have the experience and the wisdom and the knowledge and information, and also the inner knowingness of how to facilitate a younger woman's growth and development. Where are those women? And it's similar to what I just said a minute ago, in that the most women my age today are actually not the developmental age of their chronological age. They're just not. And so the most recent program that I developed is called Magnetic Inter-You, and it has to do with the calibration of our 3 ages. Because so many women are like, I don't feel 30, I feel 15. And actually, when you take a look at it, every system that we have in the West, especially the United States, is designed to keep you off kilter. They're sympathetic dominant, and they're also voices that are overriding your internal authority and autonomy. And they're also, it's also a typically choiceless system, right? So you're not taught to make decisions based on who you are as a being and what you're here to do, your purpose, right? And so what I tell people is that most of the women my age were not given, they were done a disservice by all of the systems that raised them, right? Either the public school system or the churches, right? That women my age, a lot of them are clueless about sexuality. They're clueless about some of the things that like their expression and role as women, and what that means, and what femininity actually is. And because I go hard in the paint with that one sometimes,
like the femininity
the
piece.
femininity piece.
But you can even talk about like what true natural childbirth is, because that was plucked out of the system.
Totally.
Women your age may not even understand the inner workings of money, and we have another offering coming to like talk about that, because the energy, the currency of energy in our world, women were held back from the laws and the energetics of that.
And when I talk about money, we talk about this in Your Mother's Money Story, is that it wasn't until the 70s and the early 80s that women could have a bank account and a credit card. I'm sorry, but come on, y'all.
Yeah, super insane.
Let's get real with it, because that is it's not that long ago, okay?
Yeah. No.
It's just not that long ago. And, so when I asked that question, when I was that young mother and I needed that kind of like wise woman guidance, it wasn't readily available to me. And the only thing that made it even remotely okay, which it wasn't okay, was that I'm so hard-headed, I'm so opinionated, and I'm so driven that no one was going to tell me no. It's the kind of thing where, my second birth, I'm in the hospital, I'm laboring, and the doctor comes in and says, hey, I'm off this weekend, I'll be leaving here. And I'm like, I don't like your partner, and I'm going to the parking lot to have this baby.
He's like, oh, okay.
He's like,
I'll stay.
Okay. And so he walks out of the room, and then me and the nurse get busy, and then bam, I've got a baby. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing your professional partner. No, she's a misogynist. Ain't having it. And so, but I'm so, determined and driven that even when I was having breastfeeding issues with, my first 2 children, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Lactation consultant, what? And so it's like, so what?
This is what I'm doing. I'm breastfeeding.
This is what I'm doing. I'm doing it, but not everybody's like that. Not everybody's as hard-headed and driven and opinionated as I am, right? And it's probably a good thing. I'm just saying. But, like when I think about my mother's era, right? The doctor knows best. This is the way it's done. The programming conditioning is so thick. And then my era comes along, and a few of us begin to ask questions. And then we're giving birth to people who are like, not playing. They're not, homie, don't play that way. They're not playing that way. Right. Yep. So, I look at this as this evolution in this reversal of, the being held at a lower level of maturity. And I'm like, okay, there's hope here. There's absolute hope here to help women get connected with, all of the ages of their body. And it actually has a shape. And when you do that, the magnetism is powerful, and everything that you want actually finds you. It's really potent. Yeah. So when people ask where the matriarchs are, I'm like, some of them are in process, and some of them are still waking up, and some of them are still uncovering and finding themselves. And at the same time, forming beautiful villages is useful and helpful, because most younger people today are so used to peer orientation rather than hierarchical orientation, that a lot of times, if people like myself, and there's others that speak about things like autonomy and maturation and have ways for people to have experiences, those voices seep into the peer villages. And that's one way that's one of the benefits of the online world right now.
Transmission.
Yeah, the transmission of that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm curious if either you have anything to share here about how you've experienced the impact of your own matrilineal line, like energetically, emotionally, show up in your own life, even physically.
I would say a lot of my power and potency comes from a matrilineal line. I mean, I go back to the bards in the Celtic tradition, and they are frequency healers. They are frequency people. And so when we speak or we touch or we heal or we whatever, it does not go unfelt. And that's the power of my ancestry stepping up behind me to stand behind me and support me in the world. And so for that, I'm grateful. And then also I would say probably 1 or 2 generations back, the women that were so potent and so outspoken and, did things their own way. And they're just tough, physically robust women. And I look at that and I'm like, okay, well, that kind of played both ways for me. And I'm really glad it's there. I have access to that, right? So I look at the matrilineal line as, I have framed that up as, here are the benefits of that. Here's how it serves me constantly, and the gratitude that I have for that line as well.
Yeah, I love your highlight for that. And motherhood, I think, has been my matrilineal line. And the thread that I pulled through is that there's this generative element in my body and in my lineage that we just mother and we just have babies, and this is what we do. And there's no question mark, there's no hesitation, there's nothing there. And so for me, it was like, okay, how do I evolve that? How can I evolve this for my next children, for my next daughter, et cetera? And so my evolution onto that is like, okay, the self-mastery piece. My grandma, I know there's a lot of schools of thought that will talk about how the energetics of what your grandparents held will kind of come back around to you. So same thing for like your children, whatever your parents were kind of dealing with energetically, oftentimes there's a pendulum swing to your children. And so I've pulled from some of what I know about my grandma's design. I've pulled so many threads through of like creativity. She loved the way she dressed. She loved the way she looked. She was prideful in how she showed up. She was always like, she had her hair done, she got her lipstick on, and she had her things in her purse, and she was always ready, and she always was like down for a good time. So those are the elements I think for me that I pull through truly in my matrilineal line. And we had a moment halfway through my pregnancy with my first son where I couldn't recall a birthing experience in my matrilineal line that I really wanted to highlight, pull through, that I felt like was a match for what I wanted and what I was going to choose in labor. And so I told this to Michelle. We're like naked on the beach one day, and she's like, okay, you can have my birth experiences. I'm a great birther. I love birth. Birth is so natural to me. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
Use mine.
I can use yours. Like this is part of, we get to choose family. We get to choose our lineage. And to some degree, we get to like say yes to what we want to say yes to and perpetuate and then evolve what we feel like is necessary, our purpose here on earth.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's a gift that we can give each other, is to it's so interesting, because one of my little what do you call it, pet peeves, is our Instagram posers and people who
Mhm.
just mercilessly like copy other people's stuff, and they're not being their authentic selves. And yet there is actually a way to borrow, if you will, someone else's process and the anchor that they have deeply into what they've created and what they're successful at, without copy paste, right?
Or
Or
distorting it.
distorting it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like as women, it's like showing up to the swap meet, and you're like, oh, well, that was really easy for me. Here, borrow my ease. And you take my ease and confidence, and you go create your experience and how you want to do that. Or for example, like, oh, I create businesses very easily. Here, borrow my creativity to create yours, right? But women who show up at the swap meet and are like, no, I'll take what you have,
Not
then,
pay you for
and
it.
not pay you for it or not exchange with you, that is immaturity, right? So you see the difference in how it plays out.
High expression, low expression.
High expression, yeah, exactly. It's the potency and the impotence, right? So it shows up very impotently. And so a lot of times then when we ask the question, where's the matriarch? Well, she's still kind of impotent right now, and she hasn't stepped up into her power and potency. Even though she has the age for it, she doesn't have the developmental response of it yet. And so anytime I'm with a younger woman and she's like, well, I want blah, 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 blah. And in the heart of the desire, there's something that can be offered to her to help her perpetuate her design in the world. And that's what we all need, right? We need that.
Absolutely. We need role models, women who have gone before us, and people that can reflect back the wisdom, the ease, who can share with us. And it's like, if you're just taking it and running, it's not going to stick. It's going to fall flat, you know.
It doesn't do its work in your life.
The
And so
transferring.
Molly had a desire for something that she didn't have an anchor for in her own world. And so if I can come in and say, here, borrow my anchor, now she's got an anchor, and then she can go create her own experience. And that's more powerful than if she just like took something and ran. Now she's got this massive piece that goes with everything she's here for, that's just even bigger than she imagined before.
Yeah. It's the transformation or confirmation piece
Totally.
that
Yes.
we talk about in the village, and Michelle has coined beautifully. It's, do you want to come and be conformed, or are you willing for the transfer? Are you here for the transformation? Is that part of what you are desiring? If that is the case, if you're desiring that, then there are requirements to be met. There is responsibility there, right? So it's that talk.
Yeah, there is destruction and death and releasing that goes along with that transformation. Are you willing to give that up?
Do you really want it?
Do you really want it?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that this journey is for the faint of heart, but we all have it within us. We all have that potential, you know, but that's not the narrative that most women are hearing. It's so fear-based or victim-based. And I just appreciate this conversation for pointing to another way. Conformity for so many feels safe, right? And so, you know, how do you see like that tipping point start to like wake up within someone? And if they're like even hearing this conversation and they're like, okay, I'm intrigued, I'm interested, you know, where can they begin? Is it within your program? Is there a practical tip they can start being aware of in their daily life? What would you say?
I would say some of it is the willingness to see. So, okay, let me back up. So, for example, when someone looks at their matrilineal line and they're not finding anything there they think that's for them, that usually means that there's something there for them.
It's the thing you don't
Ooh.
want to look at.
I want to look at.
I didn't
That's what's
see
going-
you're going there. Okay.
And so I would,
people call it shadow.
yep,
You can call it
you can
whatever.
go to
There you
whatever.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's usually something there that is also showing up in you that you're blocking, that you're like, I don't see anything here. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want? And then we go off desire, and I'm like, well, actually, everything back here was just the lower expression of the higher thing that you want. So can you take that energy and create from
Yep.
that? And they're like, it's like, no, actually, you can use that to create. We think that it has to look a certain way and be a certain way, but actually, you can take the lower expressions and use it as fuel to make the thing that you want. It's all just energy.
Mm. That's probably
It's
mind blowing
not
to some people. Something that they stuff down as the shadow. They're like, wait, this can be used for good.
absolutely.
can
It's a
work with this.
catalyst. It's a catalyst to get to the higher expressions of what you want. So I feel
Mhm.
like that's one of the things I love teaching people, is because, they could come up with all these things that happened and all this bad stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. How do we want to use this? How do we want to feed this through the system so that it can fuel you to actually create on the high side of what you're here for?
Mhm.
What were you going to say?
Well, and then I was going to say, and then the second part of this is being in your human body. So having the resources available to pull that low expression through, evolutionize it in a way that's going to transmute the energy into this higher state, that requires a massive amount of energy.
Yeah.
Generally.
ATP.
ATP, you need,
Mhm.
your sunlight, you need all the things. And Michelle has this
Yep.
beautiful pyramid that she's created, and it's a great visual for, hey, these are all the things that your human needs to physically, biologically requires to be able to run those processes and sustain them and keep them and pulling through your life. And so I would say it's that, and it's I need energy, especially women lost in motherhood that are breastfeeding, pregnant, et cetera, et cetera. It's like,
yeah.
you need a massive amount of energy, actually. Like you need to continually be refueling your metaphorical tank, and fueling up your human. And the things that fuel up your human are the things that are free, and the things that you have access to everywhere in nature and around you. So I would say that's the addition there.
Yeah. I see a lot of people get lost in the sauce with numbers and like, well, how much sunlight a day? I'm like, as much as you need, sis.
Oh,
Or 20
yes.
minutes a day. I'm like, you know.
I require more than that, but I don't know.
yeah,
Okay, this is
right.
walking, right?
Oh, totally
How much
movement.
people like,
Yeah.
how much movement do I need a day? I walk a mile, I walk for an hour and a half carrying 26 pounds on 1,000-foot gain most days a week.
And she's talking a hill that's like straight up and down that I have to puff up.
Get it, Michelle?
And that barely scratches the surface for
Mhm.
what I need to move, right? And
Yep.
so I think about woman as she is the earth.
Mhm.
She's not separate from it. So how do you prescribe what
Right.
is right? You're going to bring this tree inside and you're going to cut it off from its soil, its grounding, its light,
all natural resources.
all natural resources, and then be like, okay, grow, thrive, develop, bear fruit, and your tree's going, yeah, no, not happening.
Yeah.
And then you've got this struggling plant. And one of my favorite books is The Bowl of Light, and the Hank, I think it's Wesselman, he interviewed Holly Makua, the Big Island chief who finished his days on Oahu. And, he talks about how women are the earth. They are they are they are nature, And so when I talk about women in nature, I'm talking about women in nature. I'm talking about we're
orienting your life to nature.
orienting your life to nature, which is not what a lot of people do.
Yeah. And,
Right.
even in the vessel process, or in the vessel, we created a process called the vessel process. And this is your self. And so women will come and be like, well, how much sunlight do I need? What kind of food do I need? Whatever the things are, right? And we're like, we don't have that answer for you. This is not that system. We are helping you calibrate your own system. This is your responsibility. And there's a process that you can go through. There are frameworks that will allow you to self-assess what is for you and what is not enough, what is too much, etc. And there are feedback loops, and this is what you see in nature all the time. There's constant feedback loops. My husband talks about natural law a lot. And he's like, I mean,
He's a fan.
he's a really big fan of it. And like sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's like an interesting parenting tactic, babe. Like he's like, yeah, just throw him out in the water. And I'm like, like, I'm just gonna hold his arm.
He'll come back.
He'll come back, right? And Sam's like, it's natural law. Like he will drown or he will survive. And this is like, those are the elements that we're talking about. There's always a feedback loop. And so if the more you're enmeshed in nature and you're out in nature, you'll recognize those feedback loops, and they become more second nature.
Yeah.
You start to see them everywhere. You start to see them in your relationships. You start to see them in yourself and your children. Even in, just like the energetics of like money coming in, a job coming in, what else, all the ways that our body orients to its environment and the greater field, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'd start. Check out your matrilineal line and get some energy going.
See how you feel about that.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I know that from being in rooted families, Michelle, you've really stressed, like, just know where you come from, whether you do DNA testing or talk to ancestors that are still, or family that are still around, find out the stories, and there's power, there's meat there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I think in the West, especially if you come from a religious background, you're taught to shun your ancestry and your ancestral line because they're pagans or they're this or they're that or they were, cannibals. I don't know, so whatever. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? That was kind of appropriate then. And, it's a whole thing. And your bones are literally the registration of that origin. And that's what we leave behind on this planet are our bones. So what about that is wrong? It only if you want to make it wrong, right? And so, I feel like the deep dive that I've done into my own lineage over the last several years has done nothing but help me, like, really know and appreciate who I am as a being on the planet, the line of people that I'm connected to, and what we have done on the planet, and I feel really good about that. Really good about that.
I think it's a missed opportunity. So I just wanted to like name that here for those that are, wanting to do this work or dive a little deeper there. Yes to all of it. As we wrap up this conversation around matrilineal healing and self-responsibility, is there anything that feels left unsaid for either of you that you just want to add as we close? And then I have one more wrap-up question.
What are you getting?
We hit on all the high points that feel solid to me.
Yeah, I think in choosing someone in your village or tribe to sit in the seat of the matriarch or to be in that space, you don't want to find somebody that you're just going to go sit in their lap and regress. This person needs to hold you in a space of growth and development and autonomy and mission, vision, purpose. I call it the MVP, mission, vision, purpose, and help propel you to the fullest expression of who you are. And, I would just encourage people that you may not have that within your own bloodline, and yet you may have opportunities with people around you. Choose wisely. Choose wisely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In addition to that too, is like from the other lens.
Yeah.
From somebody who wanted this type of presence in my life, who desired the wisdom, who desired that horizontal transmission. Be ready for that. Know what you're asking for, and be open to the responsibility and the calibration that may be required of what you're asking for. So if someone is this clean mirror and this strong presence and this really certain person, and they feel like they have the maturation elements that you desire, don't run away from it when it feels hard. Don't run away from it when it feels a little icky. Like lean into those elements of the relationship and really ask yourself, where can you respond to that? Where is your responsibility in that relationship? And so it's co-creative, it's dynamic, and relationship can look all kinds of ways.
All kinds of ways.
And a lot of times, some of it, most of it is what we're creating internally. It's our projection outward. And so just be open to that responsibility and those experiences, because they will come up.
Yeah.
Great point.
It's not always roses. Yeah. It's not always like rainbows and butterflies, when it comes to those kinds of relationships too.
Yeah. Speaking from experience.
And maybe I
you
helped
talking
with
about
that.
Michelle?
I'd be talking about what I've experienced with Michelle and being like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't believe she just said that. And then I'm like, ooh, okay. So I can't believe, let's break this down. What does that mean about me? So.
Yes. Like I said, this work is not for the faint of heart, but don't let that mean you're doing something wrong. If it's messy, if it's hard, if it's exposing, it's supposed to be, can't comfort doesn't produce transformation.
No.
So
Exactly.
It's always on the
No.
edge. Growth is always on the edge of in the uncomfortable spaces and outside of the zone of what's familiar and comfortable. And yet, when we have the physical adaptability and bodily stability to navigate those spaces, there's some of the most joyful, happiest spaces that you can be in because you're growing and your brain is happy because there's something new and it feels good.
And you're fully seen, and all of you is welcome to the table. Like you're raw and in your essence versus shut down, half online. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a difference in the way it feels because we're meant to be seen within a relationship and challenged and
Yeah.
All of it.
all of it. I could talk to you all for a long time, but in the essence of time, here's a final question for you. And this is a total, not curveball, but it's a different flow than we were going, but it's a heart-centered question related to your own children. Michelle, you have multiples. Molly, you have one right now. And are you another one on the way? Is that a thing? Yeah. Okay. So if you want to speak to both, whatever calls to you. For each of you, if you could tell your child or your children just a message as their mother, what's on your heart that you would want to say to them?
Ooh.
What would you want them to know?
That scene in The Hangover where when they
This is so real question.
Oh no.
really that's
She
that
goes to The
scene in
Hangover.
The Hangover where Bradley Cooper's calling the bride, the one that they're standing up, and he's like, we fucked up,
Yes.
That's what Michelle would say to her
That's
kids.
what I'd be like,
Just ownership over.
yeah, I mean, just like, yo, sorry. Just kidding.
Okay,
I
for
did
real.
not see that
I know what
coming.
you would say to- Okay, you would say that to two kids. Two kids I know.
Yeah.
Two of the-
Well, I've
two of the
I've
five.
already said it, and
Have you? Okay, I wondered.
yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I'm not that mom. I'd be like,
It's like
what
holier
that was-
than that.
oh
No,
God,
no.
no.
That's not you.
No, absolutely freaking not. And so I have a very frank and open dialogue with my kids, and they're 24 to 32 or 33 right now, and so they're really at peer level. They're adult humans, right? It's like, and I've been super vulnerable and open about the mistakes I've made as a mother and decisions I made that weren't the best, and and sometimes I'm just like, some of the responses that they give me, I have them coming, so keep in mind, these kids are going to grow up
Come back at
and they're
you.
going to come back one day and they'll be like, yo,
Yeah.
that time you blah, 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 that was not cool or whatever. And, and yeah, right. And so, and then they get that maturity about them where they just zing it right in, and my kids are really skilled at that. They learned well. They got that from me.
They know the kill shot.
They know the kill shot. And
Yep.
and so I would say, the conversations that we've had in the last, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years, are some of the some of the most transparent, heartfelt, look back conversations, ever. And I don't hide my mistakes, or that I messed up, or or even if there's a regret there, I'll say it. I'd be like, God, I really regret that I blah, 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 blah. And they're like, whatever, Mom, and they're not dismissing it. They're going, we know. And so what, let's move on. And so I work with, I actually, 2 of my sons live here, and one of them, we have a business, and we work together in that. And the youngest one helps out with that too. And so we spend, a good bit of time together, and work side by side, and it's fun and enjoyable. And I'm thankful to be, healthy and vibrant enough to be able to do that with them. But we don't really focus a lot on the past, and at least with several of them. And it's just kind of we've moved on. And I know, like, I think I've mentioned this after my divorce. I pulled all my kids together and I said, whatever you guys need, you want therapy, you want a coach, you want mentorship, you want whatever, I'm writing checks, and, and just whatever they needed to become whole humans that I wasn't able to help them with, then I made those resources available to them. And so I feel like all I can do is be who I am now and make that restitution. And if they have something to say, they know that they come to me in a clean way and say it, and, we move on. So, but your kids will come back to you one day, and they will have information for you. And they will have an opinion about what went down. I promise.
Wait, when did the opinion start? Is
really,
it like,
really early?
yeah, like 8? Earlier
Yeah,
than that?
like 8 and 9. I can remember my youngest. I think I've shared this story where he came in one day. It was after church, and he's like, "Yeah, Mom, that whole thing is just bullshit. I ain't doing that. They say this and do that, and I'm not." And I was like,
Oh my
"Oh,
God.
critical thinking worked too well."
Yeah. Not yet.
Good job with the homeschooling, Mom, because the critical thinking went in, and I'm like, I can't argue with that. I'm not going to try to, like,
Fine, you right.
Okay. So they, if you do your job well, then they catch on really early. So welcome. Welcome.
Yep.
Welcome to the circus. It's a good time.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's a gift, though. Thank you for sharing your offering. And I did not see that hangover reference coming. You're a curveball, Michelle.
Yeah.
Molly, what about you?
Mine's less curveball-y. Mine's more heartfelt, I think. As a new, on the other end of the spectrum mother, what I would say to my kids would be that 2 things. Always remember who you are. And number 2, everything that you need is here for you. So I think, I think that's something that I probably needed early on. And I think in mothering, we heal the things that we needed, our little, we're remothering ourselves too, through the process. And so those are the things that I wish somebody would set me down and say, hey, this is who you are. This is what you're here for. These are your gifts. Use them. Don't shy away from them. Don't back down.
Right.
Everything you need in your life is going to be there. Trust that it's always going to be there. Trust that you can always count on it. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah. So beautiful. Okay, ladies, this has been really fun. Let us know how we can connect with you. What do you got for us as far as offerings? And then, of course, I'll link stuff in the show notes as far as how to find you online. But how can folks find you?
Well, for our joint venture, we have the Vessel. We have the Vessel Village community. It is reopening for enrollment August 1st through September 1st. So it's going to be open for 1 month. There's quite a few women in there already. And so this will be like the second onboarding. And it's an online community where we gather 2 times a month for live calls, but we keep all of our course offerings within that community. Our course offerings are also available for a la carte purchase, most of them. And then we're going to keep some within just the community offering. And so you have access to generative biohabits, which is our human resourcing and mindset shift course. And then you have Untied, Navigating Oral Dysfunction. And this is all of our like tongue tie, oral function,
Infant dynamic
Infant dynamic,
movement,
yeah.
all the postural
Breastfeeding.
blueprint
Oh,
method
nice.
applied.
Yep.
Yeah, that's there.
mother calibration. So the one-on-one calibrations that we've done with different mothers here on island, that's all in there. And then we have magic and miscarriage, which was really Michelle's creme de la creme because of her experiences in her life. And I'm really honored to be a part of that one. And then for upcoming for the month of August, we're also going to launch Your Mother's Money Story, which will also be available to purchase a la carte, but it is a course all about the story that you had as a child about money and sex, and your mother's story about money and sex and what this means to you, and unpacking some of the psychological elements, the energetic elements, pulling out themes. And then Michelle does her genius with frameworks and helping you navigate all of that as a woman. And
Yeah, we also
Reframing.
have things in there for the mystics or the healers.
yes,
About the healing,
creative vessel.
the arc from, your training to your embodiment. So we have that in there.
Yeah, that's exclusive to the community.
Mhm.
That course is for the mystics. What else do we have happening?
But we'll also have the shape of sleep. So we're going to talk about
yes.
sleep. Well, there'll be a sleep course in there as well. Because I think sleep is great, and I
too.
think everybody should have access to great sleep
Yep.
if they want it.
Yeah,
Yep.
please.
But yeah,
Right.
that's what happens in the Vessel Village,
In
and
the
then there'll
Vessel
be
Village.
products coming out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We're so excited to have some physical products. We were talking about the experience of drinking her lattes earlier.
Uh-huh.
So the woman who actually created the ceramics that we're drinking out of, she's going to create a whole line for us. And we're so
Oh,
honored
awesome.
for it to be
Mhm.
from Maui and to be with from a mother
Yes.
that we're with.
Mhm.
And so really excited about that. We're working on a journal/notebook
Mhm.
as well to go with some of our offerings.
Mm,
So
yep.
an intentional, like
Great idea.
prompted journal,
Yeah.
which feels
Mhm.
really good.
And then I have, of course, Rooted Families with Corey Malloy. And, that's
Yes.
anybody that's had a tongue tie, airway, craniofacial orthodontic diagnosis, or really any diagnosis for that matter, can go in there and sort those things out and use the frameworks that are available to them there for decision making and maturation and creating family instead of problems related to diagnoses. That's in there. We've got that offering, and then I'm still using the True North Woman, True North Man framework and helping people get to True North couples, and help couples design and create together. I know
Mhm.
Molly and Sam are getting ready to do that again as married folks. They
Yeah.
did it single.
We did it before we were engaged,
Mhm.
3 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago
Yeah.
now. And we're about to enter our second round of that as married and about to welcome another life. So really excited about that experience.
Yeah, I love helping couples design their lives that are full of ease and flow and wealth and abundance and joy and all of those things. So I have a framework for that. And so I'm continuing to do those programs and
True North and True North Man and True North Women, they're precursors, right, for the couples.
True North couple. Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Postural Blueprint Method's going to launch this summer.
Yes,
So
snaps
finally
for
getting,
that.
I know, we're finally getting that one out there for the clinicians,
healers.
all the healers. And then we'll do an in-person offering for that in early 2026.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. So much
We're
coming up.
Light
Just continually create. Yeah.
The generators over here generate.
Yeah.
We got the energy to do it. So
And I'm still working on my
Yes.
PhD. So we got that going on,
Oh my-
it's like,
Yep.
yeah, it's what we do.
Incredible. Incredible. And I'll share, I know both of you are on Instagram and that's a place that you hang out online. But I'll share any other relevant links when I talk to you and
Perfect.
here in the show notes so that you can connect with them, purchase programs, all the good things. This really was such a wonderful time. Thank you for sharing your heart, your stories, your knowledge, wisdom, and a message that, quite frankly, we all need to hear and cannot be shouted from the rooftops more, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. Thank you so much, ladies.
Right.
Thank you,
Thank
Beth.
you.